All right, well, it is 11, so why don't we go ahead and get started. Hi, everybody, this is Mandy. I have here with me today Brandon Kemp. Brandon works for the Ohio Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped, which is up in Cleveland. And Brandon does a lot of work with the visually impaired, assisting with computers. So without further ado, here's Brandon, but with one housekeeping note. We're going to have this very interactive, so if you have any questions, please just type them into the chat, and I'll read them off to Brandon. All right, take it away, Brandon.
All right, thank you. Hello, how's everyone today? Can everyone hear me okay? What I do basically is I go out in the Cleveland area to the branches. About 5 branches in the Cleveland area have software, adaptive software for patrons that have visual or physical difficulties. So I'll go out and do one-on-one training at those branches. Generally, I use JAWS, which is the screen reader software, the Zoom Text, which is a magnification software, OpenBook, which is a software that scans a page and then reads it back to you on the computer screen. Also, we have what's called Duxbury, which is a Braille program. If you have a document that you need transferred to Braille or something that you want to type up and transfer to Braille, it will do that. Like I say, I pretty much do one-on-one sessions as opposed to like a classroom setting. So it's pretty informal. Like I say, there's out of the 30 or so library branches in the Cleveland area, there's only about 5 scattered throughout the city that has these software access. Any particular questions on the JAWS or the Zoom Text, OpenBook, or Duxbury?
Sure. Do you know how much these softwares typically cost?
Well, the JAWS is the most expensive. That one is a good $1,500 to $2,000 from last I heard. It's pretty expensive. Some of the patrons that I help out on there, they get public assistance, so they get a little bit of aid in financial for that. But now the Zoom Text is a lot more reasonable price-wise. It's generally about $300 for the Zoom Text, which has the magnification and the voice. There's one without voice that's about $100 cheaper. Now the Duxbury and the OpenBook, those I'm not for sure right now on what they're going for price-wise.
And we have a question just about how you set up appointments. Do you register for one-on-one appointments? How does it take? How long does it generally take? Just I guess the question is about your process for scheduling the one-on-ones.
It's pretty informal. Generally, if they contact me, we'll work out what schedule works for both of us. I'm generally here Tuesdays through Fridays, 10 hours a day, 8 to 6. And, we pretty much just work out an informal schedule whenever they're available that I can, meet them at the particular branch. And it's generally like 2-hour sessions. It varies. Early on, it could be pretty intensive and mentally draining for them. So a lot of times, we'll go for an hour session at first, and then once they work up, we'll go 2-hour sessions. And it kind of depends on the person, how long it takes, before they catch on.
Sure.
Some patrons have to pretty much start from scratch as far as keyboarding even. And unfortunately right now we don't have keyboarding software. We used to have one called Talking Typer, which I thought was excellent. And, it would dictate the keystrokes, through the voice. But we don't have that, so a lot of times they'll have to kind of work on keyboarding before I can get started with them.
Sure. Do you have any kind of specialized keyboards, or is it just a regular keyboard that you have?
No, we have a couple of different types. We have one that pretty much has like some braille sticky tabs on certain keys, like raised bumps basically, to help a person locate the major keys, like the F and the J, or they can pretty much, with the sticky tabs, we can pretty much put them on different areas of the keyboard. We also have large keys keyboards for those who aren't totally blind, just visually about 3 times the size of the regular keys. And we also have some actual large key stickers that we can put on the keys as well.
Excellent, thank you.
Any questions on JAWS software, and is everyone pretty much familiar with JAWS and how it works?
I don't believe so. Can you tell us a little bit more, just like what JAWS is? We talked about price, but just kind of, again, like basics.
Yeah, what it is a screen reader, and for those of us who use a mouse to do our browsing and just navigating through windows, we kind of take for granted all of the things we do using a mouse to point and click. But what JAWS does is it substitutes the mouse pointing and clicking with keyboard strokes. So for instance, if I wanted to open up a web page, instead of looking for Internet Explorer, pointing on it, clicking on it, I have to, I'll go to my desktop. So the keystroke for that would be like putting on the Windows key, pressing the letter M. That's going to take me to the desktop. And then instead of clicking on Internet Explorer, I have to locate it on the desktop. And I don't know if you all can see my screen right now. I'm on the desktop. This one doesn't have Internet Explorer, but it has Google Chrome on the desktop, so I'm going to select that. What I did was I just pressed the G for Google Chrome, and I'm going to hit Enter to open the program up.
Okay, so just to make sure I'm understanding it correctly, so JAWS, for someone who is visually impaired, the mouse doesn't make a whole lot of sense for them, so that's like keyboard short, so everything on the screen can be done using the keyboard, is that correct? Exactly.
Everything that we use the mouse to point and click, there's a keystroke equivalent of that to open up a particular page or to carry out a certain command.
And do those keyboard shorts, do they come like already with the software, or is that something that you have to set up?
That's a good question. A lot of the keystrokes are already baked in, if you will, into the Windows, and they're keyboard shortcuts that you can use on your own even without having the JAWS. For instance, Alt plus Tab, what that does is that allows you to toggle between programs. Alt plus Tab, that's one of the many functions. Also, Control plus W, what that does is that'll close out a tab. You know how when you open up multiple tabs on a web page, you can toggle between tabs, close tabs. So those shortcut keys you don't need the JAWS for. There is, for instance, what's called links list. Now, if you're on a web page and it has multiple links, you can pull up the links list. Now that's a JAWS command, and it'll just list all of the links on the page. Insert plus F7 will do that. So then you can toggle between, use your arrow keys to go down the page to look for the link that you want to access. Now, the catch to that, of course, is if you're new to a web page, you may not know what you're looking for, so you may have to just allow the JAWS to read down the entire page to get familiarized with what you're looking for. I guess one example of that would be, let's say you're on a CNN page and you're looking for the weather. Now, it'll probably say just weather, but what if it said today's weather? And then you're looking for weather, you'll never find it. So each page is a little different. Once you get familiarized with it, you can pull up the link list, go straight to it, and that could save you good 20, 30 minutes from waiting for JAWS to read down the page till it gets to the link you're looking for.
Now, I think some of our folks haven't really used a screen reader before. So when, like, JAWS reads off every item on the page, correct? What order does it go in? Like, how does it read down the page?
Yes, it usually starts at the top left, and then it works its way down line by line. Now, it could be confusing to a person who's blind, who's not familiar with how the web page is set up. For instance, as you have noticed, a lot of web pages will have the same commands at the top of the page, regardless of where you go on that website. You know, like the little headers. So if you go to, if you're on the site and then you go into a link, the JAWS will start back at the top and it'll read those main headings at the top. Now, the person may feel like, well, I tried to go to the weather page, it keeps reading the same thing. But I'll usually tell them once it reads those initial headings, it'll eventually get to the main part of the page. So stuff like that, you know, it takes a little bit for blind patrons to kind of get a feel for.
Sure. So tell me, like, when you're doing a one-on-one, you're talking to them, and then also JAWS is talking. Do you ever have, like, an issue with, you know, like, loudness? Is the JAWS ever too, like, loud in the building?
Pretty much, we can just adjust the volume on the JAWS just like you would in the, you know, the speakers. If you have a video clip playing or music playing, we could just adjust the speakers so that the volume is lower, or they can use headphones. If we're like at a branch that's a little loud, just use headphones for that.
Okay.
And there are different settings in the voice. It has a robotic voice, but there's ways to kind of change the voice to make it sound a little more, I guess, a little more human. But to me, they all have that robotic sound to them.
We have another question. Is there a way for us to hear a sample page being read? Maybe if you put your speaker up to a mic or something?
Sure. Hang on one second. I actually have my headphones in. That's probably why you can't hear it.
Address and search RN Chrome / Chrome -signet / source equals 0. Insert F1 help. Type in text.
I don't know if you were all able to make that out.
It just read the URL line, not the page. Is that normal?
Okay. Let's see here.
F5. Address and search bar edit. www.cnn.com. Insert F1 help. Type in text. F5. About Google. About Google. CNN.com/breaking news. U.S. World Weather Entertainment and Video News. CNN.com/breaking news. U.S. World Weather Entertainment and Video News. CNN.com/breaking news. U.S. World Weather Entertainment and Video News.
Okay, now, were you able to make that out?
Yeah, I think it read the header. That was really interesting. It was so fast. Are there options to kind of slow down the speed at which it reads?
Yeah, yes, you can slow the voice down or speed it up. The thing is, when you speed it up, I guess I could say power users may have it fast, but most people can't pick up. You know, yes, you can speed it up or slow it down, but it's when you speed it up, it gets to the point where you can't really understand what it's saying.
Yeah, I mean,
yes, that option is there.
I mean, just from that little snippet, I mean, I was trying to figure out where on the website it was reading, and it went so fast. I can't imagine. I can understand, I guess, why you need to limit it to an hour at first. I can see why that'd be really overwhelming.
Right, because it'll read every little detail. It'll read punctuation, yeah, on a page like the CNN page, it's pretty thick with info, and yeah, it definitely takes getting used to.
Do you have trouble with like there's a lot of images, like does it often have trouble like interpreting like what that video is or the advertisements on the side?
It'll describe them and then read them. Like it'll say if there's a video, it'll say video link if the video is a link, or image link, or sometimes if there's an advertisement, it'll say advertisement and read what that is. A lot of times it will, it's kind of overlap or overflow of going from an article to the advertisement. For instance, there's an ad on the right that something's $25. It'll say $1.25. Now, a person just starting out may think it's saying $1.25.
Oh.
Reading it is reading the dollar sign and then saying 25. So there's different things that the JAWS does that I guess the more a person uses it, the more they'll catch on and know what to weed out and how to interpret things. For instance, between the different headings like U.S. and world and politics, it may say vertical bar. There's like a line in between it. A person over time they'll learn to weed out vertical bar. So it's describing stuff as it's reading. For instance, we may notice on certain pages where it has the abbreviations of the date. Or JAWS will read it just like it is. Here it says Wednesday, December 3rd. You'll say WED, December 3rd. So the person will kind of figure out, okay, he's abbreviating Wednesday.
Will it identify and offer the click to play link like on that video?
Now that's a good question because it kind of depends on the site or the software that the person's using, if it's updated. A lot of times the JAWS may pick that up, but it may not, but it may just say link. It may say video and then link, or image and then link. And whenever it says link, let the person know that it is, that they can't select that. And at that point, you hit the enter key and it'll it'll either play the video or expand the image or go into that article or whatnot. But sometimes the patron may not know what right offhand, if it's a video clip, or if it's just going to expand and bring up a picture or whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say the JAWS is not 100%, but it's definitely it's a good tool for a person who doesn't have any other option.
Sure. Is it the one you use most frequently?
Yes, I would say even more so than the Zoom text.
Why don't we take a look at Zoom text?
Sure.
And we're getting like an Internet Explorer notice kind of on top of everything. If you click Close Program.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
Now this one, I'm on one of our older public PCs, and I don't think it wants to connect. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not letting me connect to the Zoom text, but this interface that comes up here, I guess it gives an idea of the size of the Zoom. That's probably about three times the regular text size. Now the thing about the Zoom text, it can be it could get complicated for a person who I would say a person who's used Windows before and their site has started to go slowly and they needed the Zoom text. It works good for them because they have an idea of how the pages are laid out, scrolling and whatnot. But a person who's totally new to using the internet and a computer in general, the Zoom text can be confusing because when you zoom in to say 6 or 7 times, if you're using the mouse with that, unlike the JAWS, and as you use the mouse to move down the page is automatically scrolling or moving, if you will, because you're zoomed in. But then on top of that, you have to do scrolling, to scroll down to the bottom of the page if you know what I mean? So that can confuse a person who's new to using the internet.
Do you have trouble, because it's mouse-based, do you have trouble with if someone doesn't have a lot of mobility in their hands, do they have trouble using it as well?
Definitely with the Zoom text, because everything, the screen moves as you're moving the mouse because you're zoomed in. So it's basically that other layer on top of learning.
Sure.
But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So it's just like a magnifying glass, essentially, on any kind of page that you would like move around?
Right. But if you can imagine using a magnifier, but then burying your head close to the page on top of using the magnifier, you know how you move the magnifier around to see the rest of the page. But if you're using a magnifier, you know to move around on the page. But if you're new to the internet, just the concept of scrolling and that, is learned.
Sure.
I'm sorry I can't pull the Zoom text up, just kind of give you an idea of how it works. But there's a lot of options with that. You can do a split screen with the Zoom text, and that half of it's zoomed in, and then the other half of it shows the full page without zooming. For a person who's blind or near blind, I think it's practical for a person sighted near them, because that person can kind of get an idea of the big picture, where they're at, and kind of guide them along. But half that's not zoomed in, of course, it won't do the person who's visually impaired a lot of good, but I think it is good for two people, one sighted, one not, trying to guide them along. There's options of like modifying the mouse. You can, not the mouse, I'm sorry, the pointer. You can make the pointer larger or a different color. You can have it so the pointer is like a cross, or pointer with a circle around it, something to make it easier to identify.
Oh, okay. When you're assisting people, do you use like a regular sized monitor, or are you able to get like a larger monitor?
We'll pretty much use it's pretty much a regular sized monitor. Pretty much like the other public PCs. Unfortunately, we don't have the large or wider screen monitors, at least not yet, for the adaptive stations.
When you were first getting used to these software, did it come with any kind of like training materials for the software itself for you to help learn it, or did basically it showed up and you know, you or your coworkers all tried to help each other learn it? We have manuals, but pretty much just diving in and practicing it on the daily. This would pretty much help me get a grasp of it, and I'm pretty much the one here that uses the software. So that's why I meet patrons at the branches, because even the computer aides at the branches, they haven't been taught the JAWS, the traffic that they get of visually impaired patrons it's unfortunately it's not that heavy. So it pretty much say one patron every couple months come in and inquire about the software. I'm pretty much able to get out there and meet them, help them on the computer, because the computer aids pretty much it's a lot to learn with the JAWS, with the different shortcut keystrokes. And so, yeah, to answer your question, though, repetition, just me jumping in and practicing a lot. That's pretty much how I got the grasp of it. Yeah, I wonder for some of our folks, a manual is going to, they might need a manual, because like if they only have to help a person once a month, it's hard to remember all of those.
Exactly.
Those keyboard shorts.
And that's more so, of course, with the JAWS, because all of those keystrokes are in place of using the mouse.
Okay, want to take a look at what's the next tool on our list? You listed so many at the beginning, I can't remember which one is next.
Okay, there's OpenBook. Now, what that program does, if you scan a document, right now I have the OpenBook screen up, and I'm not on the computer I want it to be on to have access. I don't have a scanner.
Sure.
If I scan the document, it'll basically go through 3 steps, recognizing the document. It would have a picture of it on the screen, pretty much like a Xerox, and it'll take that Xerox and translate it into readable text. And at that point, it'll read it off to you on the screen. And at that point, you can kind of do with it what you want. You can copy it into a Word document, or you can copy it into the next program I'm going to show, which is the Duxbury. Copy it to a Duxbury and translate it to Braille. It's a really good tool.
So when someone does the copying, is it typically like a sighted person who's helping out who does the copying? Is it like a normal thing where you would, because I'm wondering how a visually impaired person would like highlight the text and hit copy paste?
Good question. Pretty much just put the document on the scanner. The space bar alone will initiate the sequence to get the program, get the document translated, and then it'll start to read it. At that point, if they have pretty much the basics as far as the Windows functions, commands, for instance, Control A to highlight all of the text.
Oh, okay.
C to copy it or cut it or whatnot, and open up the document that they want to paste it to. Pretty much go from there. So they would pretty much need, I guess, basic Windows skills to be able to, copy the document, paste it, or whatnot.
So this isn't something you would show like a brand new patron. It's like,
right.
Or yeah, once they've gotten used to it.
Right. Once they've got a grasp of just the basics of copying and pasting, going back and forth between the different windows.
You wouldn't happen to have on your computer or access to like an already scanned document so we could see what it would look like in here?
You know what? I do not.
Does it ever have like issues with special characters? Like I'm thinking about tax forms, like if you, I don't know, scanned in a tax form, does it have trouble with like the $sign like JAWS does?
That's a good question. The translation process is not 100%, so it does have the errors like $signs, asterisks, that kind of thing. I think it does pick up the $signs pretty well, but like if there's an image on the document, it'll basically try to translate that image, so it'll kind of put gibberish where the picture would have been.
Oh, interesting.
And maybe if there's a caption underneath it, sometimes it'll catch that caption, but sometimes it'll put that into the gibberish, which would have been an image. It's best when used on something that's like one column, like for instance, if it's a letter or a flyer or something like that. It works better than say if it were the newspaper or something. Because if you scan and say the newspaper with the multiple columns, it may either jumble the columns up into one, or it'll put one column under the next. So that's where it gets a little fussy.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have any documents that this wasn't the computer that I was planning on using.
Oh, that's fine.
So.
Can we take a look at it again? I wanted to take another look at the commands in there.
Yeah.
So you have, like, to upload the document, do you, like, click on acquire, or what are the different options up there at the top?
The shortcut, basically, the quickest way would be to just place the document on the scanner.
Oh, okay.
Press the space bar, and it'll start the scanning process, and it'll scan the document and start reading. And then once you're ready for the next page, just put the next page on there, press the space bar again, and it'll proceed to read off the next document.
And there's
nothing. You can pretty much, save the document, say copy, paste it to another. What was your other question?
Oh, and there's nothing special about the scanner, right? It's just your run-of-the-mill scanner?
Right. Pretty much any run-of-the-mill scanner would work. Yeah, it's pretty much straightforward as far as a person has a letter that they want to braille out, a letter they got in the mail or typed up and wanted to braille out. Just put it on the scanner, press the space bar, it'll scan it, and then at that point it'll read it to them. Like I say, at that point they can save it, store it as a Word document, or copy it, paste it to Duxbury to braille it. Now, that'll lead us to the Duxbury, which is the Brailling program. Pull that up.
So what kind of documents do people typically want? Is it mostly like letters or just things that are not available in a different format?
It depends. It could be a person who's blind who had a congratulations letter or something typed up that they wanted made into Braille, or just a billing statement, or letter they got in the mail. It kind of depends on the situation and on the patron.
Mm.
Okay, so for instance, I'll do a little example of, now with the Duxbury, I could have something say there was an open book, copy it, paste it to Dux, but I can also just type up something straight from Dux and translate it. Now what I'm going to do is translate this. Shortcut for that, Control-T, will translate it.
Oh, wow.
And if you notice at the bottom there in that yellow bar, it actually reads what that Brailling is. And at this point, we have here a Braille embosser, and you can emboss this into a document. So I have a patron that comes in regularly, and she reads her email using the JAWS, and then if there's something that she needs, she wants to hang on to, she'll translate. She'll copy that out of her email, paste it into Dux, translate it to Braille, and emboss it out.
So the embosser is just kind of like it plugs into the computer, like with a USB, and you can just print to it like you would any other printer?
Exactly.
Wow.
And it uses, of course, a thicker, more like construction paper, so to speak, to to emboss it.
Now, I've heard that Braille is not being used as much anymore. Do you find that to be the case, or do you still have a lot of people requesting things to be converted into Braille?
I think I noticed that a lot too, and a lot of the younger patrons that I get, and a lot of the newly blind, ones who just lost their vision. My way of looking at it is it's almost like now I hear they're not teaching cursive in schools, and it's kind of like the technology now, they're so used to having it read to them that they feel they don't really need the Braille, which is kind of, I guess, sad. But yeah, I do notice that a lot, especially with, like I say, the ones who have just become blind. They don't really, and I think a lot of them may be a little intimidated by it. They figure, oh, it's too difficult to learn, and they don't want to.
Sure. Yeah, it's like learning a whole other language, sort of.
Exactly.
Do you ever have people ask for assistance with like tablets, or is it most of your folks still want stuff on the desktop computer?
Now, the Bard site, which allows patrons to download books and and read them through their talking book machine or their iPad. A lot of them will use a tablet, but from what I've noticed, it seems like the iPads, iPods, whatnot, are a little better for the blind, visually disabled. To me, the Androids are better with, if you're asking it a question to look up something for you online, Android seems to be better at detecting the voice and translating it, pulling it up. but when it comes to having it read back to you, the Apple products seem to be better.
Interesting. I don't think all of our folks know about the BARD program. Can we look at that website real quick?
Sure.
So as you guys can see, BARD is an acronym for Braille and Audio Reading Download. I don't know it as well as I should, but essentially it's a way for, and Brandon, you'll correct me if I'm wrong because I'm sure you know a lot more than me about it, for the blind and visually impaired to get audiobooks and Braille access materials. And I've never really seen it in action, but I understand that you could connect like a Braille reader through like Bluetooth or like USB that would read the books.
Yes, and it kind of depends on the device. You could connect an Apple device like an iPod, iPad, or iPhone. You could download books to that device. There's also a device called a Victor Reader, and it's kind of like a little Walkman or MP3 player, where you download the books to an SD card and play them directly on the device through the SD card. But otherwise, you would download the book onto a flash drive, and the digital machines, it has the port on the side for flash drive.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you download books, it's permanent; they don't expire. And there's no cap on books that can be downloaded.
Yeah, and you can also get that app that they have now. It says on there for Apple devices.
Right, for the BARD app for the Apple devices, and I guess eventually they'll be available for the Android devices, but I guess that's still a little ways off.
Yeah. What types of materials do they have? Is it all mostly like books, or do they have magazines?
Yes, there's books and magazines. They can be downloaded. There's also web braille. It can be downloaded.
What's web braille?
It's basically a book that you download, and if you have the software to translate it to the braille and emboss it, you basically can read it off, similar to if you use the Duxbury program to emboss.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's really neat.
Oh, yeah. So there's a couple of different ways to read the books through the BARD. And like I say, there's no cap on the amount of books a person can download. They can only have 3 downloads simultaneously going on, but once one finishes, if you continue to start another one, there's no cap.
And remind me again, you have to apply to use the BARD program, and you have to get someone to sign that you are indeed visually impaired. Do you remember those? I think I've looked this up before, but do you remember?
If they're getting to talking books now, they pretty much would just go into the instructions. And basically, let's see here. You fill out the brief application, and then they run it through us to make sure the information is the same as we have here in our system. Everything clears. You get a temporary password emailed to you, and then once you get that temporary. Once you get that temporary password, you go back to the site, this page here, log in with the temporary password, and you'll get access to download the books. Once you're logged in with the temporary, it'll prompt you to change it and make up your own password. But it's a pretty easy process as far as getting, signing up for the bar once you have the service.
So you already have to be signed up for the other service to get BARD?
The service.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. And that's the form I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a brief app where you.
Yeah. Let's see who in Ohio. Oh, it's just you.
Oh yeah. And then you just fill out the brief app, and it usually doesn't take any more than 10 minutes or so once you submit it. And once everything clears, information clears, so you get that email with temporary password, because your ID to get in is your email address.
Okay. So for folks who already are participating in the Talking Book program, this is it. But if, you just met somebody and they were just interested in this, they have to first apply for the Talking Book program and then fill out this application, or can they? Oh, okay.
Exactly. They have to fill out the app to get the service started up, and they could specify if they'll just be downloading books only, and then we'll set them up for like a request only type account, so that way they won't get the tapes in the mail. They could just
that makes sense. Because it's that other application that's more like formal, that asks for like someone to say that you're...
Exactly, the doctors sign off that they qualify for the service.
Okay. And where can folks go to get that application for the just general program? Is there one online that like people in different libraries can print off, or?
Sure, yeah, I'll go to that page.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so when you go to the cpl.org site, look for the Ohio Library for the Blind link, and then on the right-hand side, there's a link that says Apply for Services. And you want to make sure that you select individual Ohio application for free library service for individuals as opposed to an institution.
Yeah, for our folks listening, you may want to check with your library because some libraries are already signed up to be what's known as a sublending agency, so they may already have copies of this form in-house. Excellent.
And when filling out the app, there's a section where you can select what your book preferences are. And if you check off those preferences, when we get you signed up for the service, we'll send out books based on your preferences. You can also specify what types of books you don't want, so we'll know not to send those out. Specify favorite authors, specify the amount, how many books you want to get and how often you want to get them.
Is there like a maximum or a minimum?
A minimum is, generally the minimum is like one book a month, but if the person specifies that they want to be request only, we'll put them on request only. And then when we hear from them requesting the book, we'll send in the form. We'll get them out for them. There's generally not a max. We start everyone off with 8, and at that point they can increase them or decrease them, decrease them depending on how often they get them back, or how quickly they go through them.
Neat. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that I think we went through all the softwares you mentioned?
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Yeah, let's just give everybody a minute to type. Oh, could you send, if at all possible, could you send me some links to some of the resources we talked today, like where someone would go to get JAWS or OpenBook or Duxbury?
Oh, sure.
And I'll send that out.
Mm-hmm. And the website for the JAWS is called Freedom Scientific. If you were to go to www.freedomscientific.com, that's pretty much the go-to site for them as far as it has pricing, and I believe it has like little manuals for the JAWS, and they have other devices too for the blind.
Oh, and I almost forgot to mention there is that other software available that's it's either free or a lower cost than JAWS, but similar. I'm going to forget it.
NVDA?
Yeah.
Yeah, now I've heard that, I believe that's the software that I heard that Windows is going to have in free.
Oh, that's wonderful.
This software, if a person gets, I guess, if they get Windows 8, it's already baked into their software.
Oh, that's definitely something we should check out, yeah.
It works similar to the JAWS. The keyboard commands are different. So that one I'm not up on, I'm not familiar with as far as the keystrokes and whatnot. But I have heard some positive things about it, and the fact that it's free if you get a Windows 8 computer.
Yeah, and it was NVDA?
Correct.
Okay, I'm writing it down. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions come in. Brandon, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
That was really interesting, a lot of different stuff to help our patrons, and thank you for the work that you do.
Oh, you're so welcome. If anyone have any questions that they can't think of now, you could email me, brandon.kemp@cpl.org.
I'm going to type that in the chat. And oops. All right. Well, I think you can end if you go to the top of your screen, and then you'll have a drop down to stop sharing, and then from there we can end the webinar. Thank you again so much for everyone.
You're welcome. You have a good one now.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.